Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. In today's video we're going to be looking at PlayStation 3 emulation on the Odin 2 portal using a PS3E. Here is a list of games I've been trying. Some of them work, some of them don't. Let's jump into it and see what I got working. Starting with Sonic 4, as you can see this is running very nicely with the occasional dip. As is to be expected with such an immature emulator like PlayStation 3, which has only just been released. This is quite similar to the old Sonic games on the Mega Drive, except you can now dive towards certain targets, like enemies, like this. Or those buttons that propel you through the sky, like this. Boom! Which is nice and fun. Let's jump at this rock. Boom! I put the frame per second counter at the bottom here, because right now in a PS3E there is no controller mapping built in. I had to use the Odin 2 Portal's key adapter to overlay the buttons on the on-screen controls like this, and I then made them invisible. So I have all of the buttons mapped, and if I put the frame per second counter at the top left like I would usually, it's then going to cover the L1 button, which could create some problems. So just to be safe, I've put the frame per second counter down the bottom here. The game's running very smooth at mostly a locked 60 frames per second, sometimes even higher, and sometimes with the occasional dip, which I'm sure will improve as the emulator gets some more updates. So as you can see, this is running beautifully. So if you'd like to play the PlayStation 3 version of Sonic 4, you can absolutely do it here on the Odin 2 portal. Let's now jump into another game. Next up we have DuckTales Remastered. This one is not running perfectly. The frames per second is dipping quite a lot. It says it's around 50 frames per second, but honestly it doesn't really feel that high. I don't think this frames per second counter is actually accurate because it feels like around 15 to 20 frames per second or so. Boom. Come here, come here. Oh no, he's too smart. I'm sorry. DuckTales is a fun game, but it doesn't really run well enough to play right now in this current state. So let's jump into another game like Rayman. This game is running very smoothly. I've been replaying the intro a few times because it's very fun. And this is a perfect experience. This feels a true 60 frames per second. It's just so incredibly smooth. And while I'm not sure how accurate the frame per second counter is because I feel like the game might be locked to 60 frames per second by its nature, it actually does feel higher than 60. But I think what we're actually just looking at is a perfect 60. So if you'd like to play Rayman Legends, it seems very, very well suited to this device using a PS3E on the Odin 2 portal. So feel free to check this one out. I highly recommend this one. Although of course I have only played the intro, so don't take my word about the end game. Let's try another game now, and I cannot make a PlayStation 3 video without my favorite, Tennis in the Face. This game works on Android phones, this game works on the secret console, this game works on anything. And once again, here on the PlayStation 3, it is beautiful. The game looks incredible, it sounds great, and it runs flawlessly. So definitely check out Tennis in the Face if you'd like to try some PlayStation 3 games. We have other games like Limbo, Plants vs Zombies, old games like Bomberman, which of course are going to run quite well as well, and another small cute game here, Castle Crashers. This one again looks fantastic on the Portal screen. It has that similar cartoony style to Tennis in the Face. And again, the fantastic sound too. So if you'd like to play this, it also looks very playable. So this is Castle Crashers running on the PlayStation 3 using the a PS3E emulator on the Odin 2 portal. Let's jump into even more games. This is Daytona USA. I'm not sure the original console that this came out for, but I know it's a really old game. So let's hold down the trigger to accelerate like in most racing games. We have the other trigger to put the brakes on. And being a game that looks like it came straight out of the 90s, you're going to see it's running really smoothly, although there are some graphical glitches happening. There are some weird things showing up on the screen. So for now, I'd say you should probably play this on a different system because we do have some weird graphical glitching, but this seems like a game that will probably run flawlessly after a few more emulator updates. Unless it's one of those games that just notoriously don't emulate well. But just by looking at the style of the game, how simplistic the graphics are, and also the gameplay, it's no surprise this is easily running at 60 frames per second, or according to my frame counter, sometimes even around 70 to 90. It is a shame about the graphical glitches because this is a game that feels very fun and is running really, really well. So for now, maybe look for a different system for your Daytona games, but I think in the near future, this could be a good one to be playing on PlayStation 3 emulation on your Android device. And with that, let's jump into another game. Carrying on the arcadey driving theme, we have Crazy Taxi. Once again, this is not the way I'd suggest playing this game. I would suggest the Dreamcast version of this game, which runs perfectly, even at an upscaled 4K resolution. And check out my upcoming 4K Dreamcast video, which will release later this week. But if you really would like to play the PlayStation 3 version of Crazy Taxi, as you can see here, it's running perfectly, easily getting 60 frames per second. Once again, we have no control over absolutely anything, so we can't upscale the graphics, we can't upscale the resolution, we cannot change anything, but just adding the game to the emulator and opening it up, it is perfectly playable and perfectly smooth. And honestly, a really nice playing experience. So now let's talk about some different games. You might be looking at this thinking, hey Ryan, let's see Assassin's Creed, let's see Grand Theft Auto 4. Can it run Crysis? But unfortunately, these games are not working right now. Now, they're not completely broken like some other games which just don't load at all. They're just not quite loading up into the full game. So for example, Grand Theft Auto 4 brings up a loading screen. It compiles all of the shaders that we need. We get that rockstar loading icon, which fills us with a lot of anticipation and hope. I was getting giddy with excitement when I saw this loading screen. Starting a new game. But unfortunately, this is where GTA 4 ends. It just cannot start the game. You end up in this loading screen and then eventually it crashes back to the menu. And that's basically the same experience we have with Assassin's Creed and a few other games. But once again, that's more than we get from some other titles which don't launch at all. So I'm hoping that in the near future, we will be able to get those games running. And one game that is running is GTA San Andreas. Here we are in that familiar intro scene of San Andreas, and as you can see, once again there are a few graphical glitches happening, but we are mostly pretty playable here. Hello! Ah, the true GTA experience. This game seems to be incredibly dark, so I'm actually going to increase my brightness just for this game. I guess the sun is setting, maybe that's why. We've picked up a lovely little car, and as we drive around, you can see the frame rate is not too shabby. Once again, this is a game we can emulate in many different ways. I actually really like the Netflix version of this game. I think it runs really smooth. But to be playing a GTA game on PlayStation 3 emulation here, to me is very impressive, just purely because it was something, once again, that didn't exist about a week ago. And if you're really into PlayStation 3 emulation, I might still suggest you try out Rocknix for your devices, which has just come to the Odin 2 devices. But personally, I much prefer Android to Rocknix, so these new developments of Android PlayStation 3 emulators are huge. Sorry! So let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this preliminary PlayStation 3 emulation? Is it something you're excited about and do you want to try it yourself? We are putting together a list of some working games here, so feel free to join my Discord where we have a dedicated PlayStation 3 channel to talk about these developments, and I hope this video was useful or entertaining. If it was, please give me a like and subscribe if you didn't already, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another video about the Odin 2 portal. And if you'd like to buy your own Odin 2 portal, check out my affiliate link in the description to the official AYN Odin website. Thank you once again for watching. Bye.